It's a real regime almost.
Oh, hell no.
They're talking about me.
All I needed was one ball.
The science of training.
And I know you don't think it's a sport. Now, going into Olympia, right? Obviously, Big Ramy is the current champion.
Mhm.
You know, I was talking to Matt Johnson about it, actually, because it seems like right now, in order to defeat him, right, you have to bring in the size.
Yeah.
But then, of course, I think, well, a lot of people think that basically when people are going to start doing that, they're going to lose the conditioning, right? Just chasing that size. What do you think about that, and what will be your strategy? Because obviously you want to be number one, right? So you have to go for the number one guy.
It goes from two ways. I mean, I think there's two ways to beat Ramy. I think it's going to come down to either a guy with really, really crazy shape, like a Brandon or a Nathan, but you compiled with really good conditioning, or it's going to come to someone that's bigger with better conditioning. I don't see anyone being bigger than Ramy, so I think the way to beat Ramy is with detail and shape. So I think trying to be bigger than the biggest guy is insanity. And I know guys are obviously always going to push the envelope in terms of size and bodybuilding. That's just the nature of the beast. But I think when you're talking like an athlete that is as big as Ramy, I think you need to look at his weaknesses and not his strengths. So I think you need to look at where he's deficient. In terms of his detail in certain shots and his conditioning in certain shots, which is still, I mean, Ramy is still excellent from a aesthetic standpoint. I mean, he's got a tight waist. His conditioning is still very, very good. But I think I look at someone like myself. I don't think I'm in the realm of beating a Ramy yet per se. But when I look, okay, if I'm not going to be as big as Ramy, where could I beat someone like Ramy? And I look at my show like Texas. Okay, I can beat him in conditioning through the glutes and hamstrings and having my back a little crisper. Shots like this, where he is a little deficient in detail, that's where you're going to give the best edge. And I think someone like Brandon last year could have closed that gap if his conditioning was a little better, because he has the shape, he has the symmetry, he has that silhouette of like a very, very dominant bodybuilder with the bubbliness and the flow and the tight waist. Where he was just a little subpar was his conditioning in comparison, right? So, I think a physique like that can absolutely beat a Ramy if Ramy's conditioning is lesser, is inferior to someone like Brandon. So if someone like Brandon can bring the conditioning and bring the detail, I think they can surpass, and that can overcome the level of muscularity. But Ramy's a very good, very dominant bodybuilder, and I think he's only going to get better. I think he's going to be hungry now and is going to want to defend that title. So I expect to see a better Ramy than last year. So it's going to be tough for anybody, that's for sure.
Now, you live in Canada, right? So you often have to, I'm assuming, travel for the competitions.
Yeah.
A lot of people want to know, actually, we got some emails for some fans want to know some questions, from the pro. But like when you travel, obviously a lot of people lose their gains while traveling, right? Or they don't look the same when they travel from far away. What is your rules on getting to a show like Arnold, Olympia without losing, the gains?
Yeah, I think the most important thing for me is making sure I fly there in far enough proximity to the show that if anything, if there's any water issues, anything like that, we have time to get, back to regulation. So say the show's on a Saturday, I would never fly on like a Thursday or a Wednesday. I would generally fly on like Sunday or Monday, so that, if I'm holding a couple pounds of water, it's out by Wednesday. And Wednesday is generally when I would start carb loading. So I don't want to be holding 3 to 5 pounds of water and then start adding food on top of that, which could potentially make me hold more water. So, I want to make sure that everything's settled before we start our final processes. A show like Texas, when I did Tampa, and then right on the Monday, we flew Monday right out to Texas. And when I flew to Tampa, I flew from Ottawa, from Canada, right on the Monday as well. So I make sure I'm always out there 5 or 6 days before, have time to really be 100% settled. And, obviously you go to certain places too, like coming from Ottawa to Florida, you can get some big weather variances as well. Humidity can be different. And if your body's used to certain weather and you come in another, climate, a lot more humidity, a lot more heat. That can affect how you look and your water balance and stuff like that. So you also need to give yourself some time to get acclimated to that as well. So, I think the biggest thing is, making sure you're there with good enough time. And I know that's not the reality for everyone. If you're someone that, doesn't have the luxury of living the full-time bodybuilder life, and you have to work a job and you can't take, a week, 2 weeks off for a show. Obviously you got to do your best and, make sure you're drinking lots of water when you're flying to keep your body flushing, and, maybe not drink a bunch of, salty carbs while you're flying. So there's things you can do to mitigate it. But I find the safest bet is always just to make sure you're out there early, can get settled, can get comfortable. And then also if there's any issues, like, say you're flying to a show and they lose your bags, or, You know, like your flights are delayed, that you're not stressed out like 2 days out from a show, worried about this, that you can get there, get back, get settled, and everything can be good. So that's usually the best thing for me, is just making sure I'm out there nice and early.